Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and right alongside each and every week with me is, of course, Legends Tour player and LPGA professional Cindy Miller. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Ted. How are you?
Well, it's good to be back. We've had a few weeks here and there off air, and Cindy's going to talk about what she's been doing, and I'll tell you a little bit about what I've been doing, and here in just a second. But Cindy, let me just very quickly remind everybody, of course, we are live on Tuesday mornings from 9 to 10 Eastern Time for those of you tuning in. And it's the best way to find us is go to blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf, or you can just type Women of Golf up in the search key, and that'll get you to the main page every week. You can also go to iTunes under the podcast section, and just type in Women of Golf, and you can also get us there as well. If you want to call in or speak to Cindy or I during the live broadcasts on Tuesday mornings, you can do so by calling area code 347-945-5855, or you can email any questions or comments about the program to womenofgolf@gmail.com. And also, if you're interested in coming on the show, if you're somebody in the golf profession and want to come on and share your views and thoughts about the game with our audience, we would love to have you. Just reach out to Cindy at cindy@cindymillergolf.com. And also don't forget to visit her website, cindymillergolf.com. Lots of great information there. And maybe if you're interested in working with Cindy, you can reach out to her as well at cindy@cindymillergolf.com. And you can also reach out to yours truly at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And don't forget, if you're tuning into this broadcast, to also tune in if you get a chance Thursday evenings from 6 to 8 p.m. Central to my program, Golf Talk Live. But we're going to talk with the ladies this morning, and our special guest a little bit later on is going to be none other than LPGA professional and legend Carol Mann. She'll be joining us here in about 20 or 30 minutes. So sit tight. And Cindy, you've had a lot going on here. Tell us what you've been doing over the last few weeks.
Well, I had the opportunity to go to Las Vegas to do a corporate outing, and we got to play TPC Summerlin a couple days in a row, which was really nice. I haven't been to Vegas in forever. And we ran into Ryan Moore at the other end of the range and Tommy Armour the third, which was kind of cool because my husband, Alan Miller, is a lifetime PGA Tour member, so he is a member at all the TPCs, which was kind of cool. So Ryan was very nice. We took a cute little picture. He probably wondered who's this old lady walking up to him, but it was fun. And then I came home and immediately flew back to San Antonio, Texas, where I attended the LPGA National Teaching and Coaching Summit, which was great. I brought a team, my Buffalo Bombers. I had a mom bring her daughter. And then I had a college student from Naples, Florida, fly out to San Antonio to meet me.
Wow.
And then another young girl from, she's a sophomore at Clarence High School, and we kicked butt in the Pro-Am. We won by 9 shots, which was really cool. So I was the only one with junior golfers, and we kicked all the old people's butts.
Now, when you're obviously when you're in a format like that, of course, it game's on, and there's really no time for really instruction, but obviously they have an advantage having you alongside with them for any pointers along the way. But what were some of the things that you tried to do to prepare to help your students and those that came in to join you for this event? What did you do to try and help prepare them, get them mentally prepared for the game?
Well, 3 of the 4 participants had played with me last year, and the mom has played in 2 or 3 or 4 Pro-Ams with me. Her daughter had never played 18 holes before. So that was a little trying. Yeah, it was. She did show up though on a few holes. You know, she made a bogey with 2 shots, and we made a birdie, which was great. On other occasions, she was, you know, pick it up. That's good. Let's go.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing was to help them not give up when they thought they did bad. I said, come on, we're not done yet. We're doing all right here. Let's keep going. And to make them not nervous, you know, to try to relax them a little bit, because they were nervous when we first started out. It was 2 best balls. I should say we won the net division. We didn't win the gross division.
Right.
So there were gross winners and net winners. We won the net division. But it was a lot of fun. And then the summit itself was amazing. We had lots of great speakers and learned a lot of good stuff.
I saw some of the photos that you put up on social media on Facebook, and I know that there were some great legends. Carol Mann, of course, was there, who's going to be on the show in a little while. And, of course, Kathy Whitworth, who's also been on the program earlier on. She was also there. I saw 2 or 3 of them, I think, or maybe 4 of them up on stage. What was that all about? Do you remember?
All the Hall of Famers came up, and they had a roundtable discussion. And we had Carol Mann, Kathy Whitworth, Betsy Cullen, Shirley Spork, and Sandra Haney. Wow. It was awesome. So they told stories about playing on tour and traveling all over the place, and they were teasing Sandra Haney for 3-putting the last hole to help Whitworth win her first tournament. It was such a treat to be with these women and listen to their stories, and then we got to ask them questions, which was really, it was very, very special. It was awesome.
And, you know, what a lot of people don't understand is these ladies have played, you know, so much great golf in their careers. They've got literally a war chest, if you will, of not only great memories, but also some great advice for some of the younger up-and-comers on the tour as well, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? They're in the game. Like Shirley Spork is in the game. You know, she was there. She's awesome. In fact, she's going to be on our show in the next few weeks. I've got her coming on. And she's 88, I think. And she was teasing, oh, now I can shoot my age. And she's just such a treat to be around. She's with it. She knows what's going on. She remembers you. It was great. And Donna White and Shirley Engelhorn were inducted into the Hall of Fame, which was awesome. It was just a great, great few days.
Now, they also at the summit, too, or was this separate from it, they also, I guess, elected or voted on a new president in that?
That happened over the weekend. And, yes, Deb D'Angelo and Karen Palacios Jensen were elected as president and vice president of the LPGA starting in 2016. Dana Rader will be stepping down. And, yeah, it was awesome.
Now, what are some of the other things that they do at the summit as well? Obviously, you know, you had a roundtable discussion with some of the legends of the game, but what are some of the other things that go on at the summit?
Well, we had speakers. We had, you know, it's terrible. The first woman that spoke, we talked about authentic leadership, and she was really amazing. And I can't think of her name to kill myself right now. Yeah, how bad is that? She was great, but I don't remember her. And Chuck Cook was there. Susie Whaley spoke. She was awesome. Paul Shemp from the University of Georgia. He is a person, you had to go through him if you were ever nominated for the Golf Magazine Top 100 Teachers. You had to go through Paul Shemp's gate. Judith Rogers is the first speaker, Dr. Judith Rogers. She's an associate dean for academic affairs at Miami University in Ohio. Paul Shemp. He was
another
awesome.
one there.
Yep. Karen Jensen did a little fitness thing every morning at the crack of dawn or before dawn at 5:30 in the morning. Garrett Kramer was there. He was a little different. He talked about the mind part. Kathy Gildersleeve Jensen, who won the PGA Teacher of the Year, was there. And the last one before the break on Tuesday was Dr. Phil Cheatham, which is really, he was interesting. He's the chief biomechanical engineer for the Olympics and used to work at the Titleist Performance Institute and talked about the body and the most effective and efficient way to swing a golf club, which, you know, I was with him for about 5 minutes and then got lost in space because it was a little above and beyond my brain capacity. Yeah. But it was interesting. And Jim Hardy and Craig Cann from the LPGA.
Fantastic.
So
now,
it was a great leadership summit.
Yeah, I saw a lot of things as well on social media. Everybody seemed to be putting something up, and maybe you can just explain a little bit for those that aren't familiar with. I heard a lot about Top Golf. What is Top Golf, and why was everybody? There seemed to be a lot of buzz going on there.
Okay, Top Golf is a facility that the golf balls have chips in them, and there are specific targets out on the range with big, huge holes that are electronically calibrated for distances. And every time you hit a shot, the ball can go into a target, and every station has a setup with a computer, like an iPad, to tell you how many points you got per shot. And this facility is 3 stories high, and it has 120 stations. And it is rocking. There's Top Golfs all over the country. So San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Chicago, Virginia, Atlanta, Tampa. Unbelievable. This facility is like making golf fun for people that don't play golf.
So it's not really so much a practice facility. I mean, I guess you could do it that way. It's just really meant, its format is really just for those to have fun that maybe don't play golf that much, or maybe are interested in golf, but sort of a different twist on it, if you will.
It's both. It's a practice facility. David Ogren, who played on the PGA Tour with my husband Alan, is the director of instruction at the San Antonio facility, and he was encouraging all of us to go over there, which was only 3 miles away from where we were at La Cantera Resort. And it is both for entertainment and educational purposes, which makes it a win-win for everybody. Each station has a table with chairs, and the waitress or comes up right up to your table and serves you food and drink. They want you to hang out. You pay for the range balls by time, not by bucket.
Right.
So it's really pretty cool. It's a great way to grow golf, I can tell you.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people posting on Facebook, particularly about that, and I was curious what all of the buzz about. It sounds very interesting, very intriguing. Now, you said them all over the U.S. Do they have any here in Florida?
Yeah, Tampa.
Tampa, okay.
Tampa,
I'm only a few hours from Tampa, so I'll have to make a trip down and check it out. Now, also, in addition to what you were doing, we had the President's Cup ending this past week, and of course, the USA managed a win, but it was certainly not an easy win, that's for sure. There was lots of ups and downs throughout the weekend. I know you were busy with a lot of stuff. Did you get a chance to watch much of it?
I did not. In fact, it's funny. Our daughter had to produce an hour show for the Golf Channel, but I did not get to see much of it. I saw a couple of putts and a couple of matches here and there, but nothing to write home about. How about you?
There was a lot. Well, obviously with the time difference, a lot of it was in the wee hours. Saturday, unfortunately, I didn't. I was driving home. I was actually in Biloxi, Mississippi for the day, and came back in the wee hours of the morning, so I didn't get a chance to see. In fact, I didn't get home till 4:00. But I did catch throughout the weekend here and there some of the highlights in that as well. And it was a challenge. U.S. certainly had their work cut out for them. One of the things that early on, before the President's Cup actually started, there was some discussion about sort of the differences. There's always sort of been this mindset or this theory that the U.S. team tends to not play so much as a team, more individual, and not sort of rally around one another. But that's certainly not true. A lot of people put that sort of to rest this weekend. I think that the players certainly did get out there and help one another. Europe has always been sort of, if you will, put up top as an area that really seems to come together in a more of a team format, and that's why they've done so well over the years, and also with the Ryder Cup as well. But I think what it is I think that there's such a high standard at this level of play, because you're not just playing for yourself, you're playing for a team. And I think sometimes some of the younger players, as excited as they are to be part of it, have a more difficult challenge in getting in there and sometimes getting the job done. But U.S. certainly did a fantastic job, lots of great golf, and I know that it's going to help propel them for the next time, having this win on their backs.
Absolutely.
But I think one of the things too, Cindy, that a lot of people don't understand, these guys don't get a chance to play as much together in this format because they're so busy throughout the season. So, a lot of people, us as the viewers, I mean, those of us in the profession, I think, have a better understanding, but those not, more of the fan base, if you will, I don't think really appreciate just how busy these guys and gals for the Solheim Cup players and that are throughout the year. And it's not easy, getting ready. They have to take time specifically out of their schedule to sort of come together and prepare for this. So it's not an easy venture. So it's understandable why they have so many nerves.
Absolutely.
And
you're totally right.
And
they don't play together as a team.
Right, exactly. That's my point. They're playing as individuals throughout the year. Obviously, they're trying to win for themselves, and then now all of a sudden they're thrust into a format where it's not about you or I. It's about us as a team. But they certainly held it together. They had some challenging moments throughout the time, but they certainly did a good job. And congratulations, of course, to Team USA. And we hope that they'll carry this momentum into the next one, and also give a bit of a jump start, if you will, for the guys next year in 2016 for the Ryder Cup. Hopefully, this will give them a good jolt.
Absolutely.
And also, of course, the ladies won in the Solheim Cup, so that's 2 for 2. And we've got to keep that momentum going. But lots of great golf. There's always something going on. In fact, there's so much golf now. It's hard to keep on top of it all. I mean, between the LPGA, the Legends Tour, the Champions Tour, the PGA, the Web.com, and Symetra Tours, and everything else, that is just golf basically 24/7.
Yeah, you're right. It really is, isn't it? And this week is the final tour for the Symetra Tour to find out who the top 10 are to get exempt for next year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they just did the Web.com tour, was just this past weekend, and they're slated to give out their stuff, and the Symetra Tour, of course, does it this week. Is their final event of the year, and you're right, to find out who's going to propel themselves into the LPGA officially next year. So good luck to the ladies, and I know there's a lot of nerves. I'm sure there's some that are right on the cusp and that are nervous this week going in, but I'm sure they'll all do well.
Absolutely.
What do you think goes through? That brings up an interesting thing. We've got a few more minutes before Carol comes on board. You've obviously been in that position. You've played on the tour and that over the years. What goes through some of these young ladies' mind, do you think, coming into an event like this? What do you think they're thinking about right now? Are they really thinking about getting that card, or are they just saying, okay, this is another tournament, yes, it's important, but I'm just going to focus on what I have to do this week to get the job done?
Well, that would help determine how they play, I'm sure. We've got a friend of ours that I'm pulling for is Alejandra Laneza, who's been on our show before. And
right.
She almost missed the cut last week. She shot 75-68 and came back and made the cut and made a little bit of money. And she's sitting at number 6 on the money list.
Right.
And I think there were 3 people, number 3, number 4, and number 5, who played a lot better than her. And, you can't protect. You've got to pursue. And if she continues to protect, being afraid and protecting your spot could help you lose it. And so I'm hoping that she learned, a little lesson last week. Again, they've got to all be exhausted because they've been playing every single week. And it's down to the wire, and this is it, and the gun's to your head, and you're the one with your finger on the trigger. Are you going to pull it, or are you going to keep yourself alive? So their mental mindset is going to be a big deal.
Right.
And hopefully, they're thinking the right thoughts.
Now, obviously, it's going to differ depending on what their position is. Obviously, if they're in the top seeded spot right now, they certainly can't rest on their laurels, but they can certainly play maybe a little less aggressively and maybe be a little bit more protective. But obviously, if you're somebody that has an opportunity to get their card or get into a spot to be close to get that, they're going to maybe play a little bit more aggressively, right? And then maybe somebody that's in that top few spots it certainly has to play aggressively to point, but they're going to be in a more protective mode. Do you agree with that or no?
I don't think. Needless to say, the person that's 1, 2, and 3 probably don't need to worry, so they can just play their own game.
Right.
But you have to know when to go for it and when to lay up and what's your game plan. And that would all depend on your personality. And I know that Alejandra is a lot like Jason Duffner, Freddie Couples, is not anything like a Tiger Woods attitude-wise. So she's going to have to play, conservative. She will play probably conservative, aggressive, passive-aggressive. I'll go for it when I've got a 60 or 70% chance of pulling it off. She's got to play smart because if she protects too much and lays up, she's going to get passed by somebody who's going for it.
Right, exactly. And, it's interesting because it really, this is where, we all know to get to this level, you've got to have a good physical game. You've got to really have a great physical game. But this is really where the mental strength takes over, is it not? Because they've got to really, they've got to stay focused. They've not got to let little mishaps, which are going to happen throughout. You've got a week-long tournament. There's going to be little mishaps along the way. This is where you have to really be careful that thoughts don't creep in your mind that are going to derail your efforts for the week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you've been in this position before yourself where you've come into an important tournament in that. What do you do in a situation? What did you do? And maybe this will help some of those that might be tuning into the program that are facing a similar situation. You've gotten in, you've maybe played first round, you're doing well, and then all of a sudden you have a string of maybe some bad holes put together, which sort of lets the air out of your tire, the wind out of your sails sort of thing. How do you recover from that? What do you do mentally to recharge that battery and get back on the horse, as it were?
Well, I think the number one thing is you need to know how to play your own game. Mm-hmm. And if you're aware of what you do when you play well, then sometimes what will happen is your thoughts will creep in to being not so good thoughts, which will make your feelings be not so good. You'll be apprehensive, you'll be nervous, you won't be focused on the task at hand. No one can control what they shoot. So you have to pay attention to each shot because nothing matters until it's over.
Right.
So you have to be very aware of what you're thinking and what's going on in the voice in your head, basically. Because if you're aware of the voice in your head, you have the freedom to make different choices, to listen to different voices. And you can control what you're saying to yourself. So, it's being aware of, oh, God, look out, be careful, don't do that. Well, those are not good voices. I want the ball to go here. How am I going to make the ball go here? What shot can I hit that will make it less stressful on the next shot? And if you're not aware of that, then you really don't have the right to get mad because you're not sure what you're doing to start with.
Right, exactly.
So it's knowing your game. You need to know your own game.
And obviously the ladies coming into this week, or really any of the tournaments, I mean, I think by that point they're at a level that they do know their games. But even at the highest level of golf, there's always going to be those players that for lack of better words, have somewhat of a little mental breakdown and fall apart. We've seen that time and time again over the years. It doesn't happen very often, but occasionally it will. And you'll see a player that just seems to be on all cylinders, and then all of a sudden it's like, where did that come from? And it's just that something has derailed that thought process, and they weren't able to recover. And it's happened on all the tours at some point. But you're right. You have to really play your own game, which leads me into another point I want to make is Cindy and I talked about this a few weeks back about sort of re-energizing that Own Your Game platform that we did, that you did actually, Cindy, a few weeks back, or what am I talking about? A couple of years ago. We want to reintroduce that, and I think coming up in the next few weeks or so, we should start doing that again. I think it'd be a great time, especially as we sort of wind down from the traditional golf season and come into the cooler months. This would be a good opportunity for people to work on that aspect of their game as well.
Absolutely. And,
certainly golf is not over. There's still some golf left, not only on the tours. It is a slower part of the season, but as I said, it pretty much goes 24/7 now. But for those particularly up in the Northeast, where the temperatures are getting a little cooler and they're not getting out as much as they did earlier in the season, this is the time to really sort of what I call the off season we're coming into here very quickly. This is the time, in my opinion, to really start working on your game and getting ready for next year. For those of you that are maybe going to be a little bit quieter. One of the biggest things, Cindy, and I'm sure you see this all the time, is a lot of people say, okay, well, golf's pretty much over now. I can't get out too many more times. And they just start sitting, they get into football mode or baseball or what have you, hockey for those up in the Northeast. And they sort of forget about golf until next year. Next year comes along and they try to hop right back in it, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. So we should start that up. Another Own Your Game series.
We'll do that. So stay tuned for that. We'll give you the heads up when that's coming, and that's definitely something that you want to tune in for. It was good the first time around. It's going to be even better the second time around. But just a lot of great stuff happening in golf. There's sort of a changing of the guard, if you will, throughout the golf industry, and lots of new people coming in. I'm excited to see really what's going to happen for 2016 in the ladies golf, particularly the LPGA. But also, too, let's remind everybody that, and correct me if I'm wrong, 2016 is going to be a big event for the Legends Tour as well. The Women's U.S. Is it the Women's U.S. Open?
No, it's not going to be next year. It's going to be 2017.
Oh, it's going to be 2017? Okay.
Yep, unfortunately. I wish it were next year.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. One more year.
Every year matters at this point. Every year matters.
Yeah. I know. I know. Listen, I hear you. Anyways, I see that Carol's ready to come on board. So let me just give a quick introduction here, and then we'll bring Carol on and have some discussion with her. Carol, as you may recall, started playing golf at a very early age, 9, in fact. Wow, that's an early age to get out there. Credits not only her father, but also Jim Scott and Manuel de la Torre as individuals that most influenced her career. She served as the president of the LPGA from 74 to 75 and was a member of the executive board and board of directors. And it was really a key figure, Cindy, in the formation of what we know as the modern day LPGA. So let's bring her out and let's have some good discussion with Carol Mann.
Good morning, Carol.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you told me that you were down at the Villages and you had the opportunity to play in a pretty special Pro-Am. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, Nancy Lopez, who's just divine and everyone adores her, has spent the last 35 years as the spokesperson and the host for the AIM of Dayton, Ohio. That's activity, well, it's the Athletes in Motion, but it's for handicapped kids, either autistic or Down syndrome or some other kind of disability that makes them, it's just such a blessing to have a child like this, but very difficult for the parents and the community of maturation and growth for those young people. So the AIM Foundation and nonprofit, like I said, based in Dayton, Ohio, has got a concept going that Nancy fell in love with 35 years ago. This is the 35th year of the Pro-Am fundraiser. That's their primary fundraiser throughout the year. And I saw checks being given to the AIM group of over $150,000, just one part of the event on Sunday night, when Jack Nicklaus and Barbara Nicklaus flew in for the dinner and stood around for pictures with every single Pro-Am group that was going to play the next day. And Jack sat for autographs. And, I mean, normally, you don't get Jack Nicklaus's autographs. So Nancy can pull him in. Chris DeMarco was here yesterday hitting shots. I'm trying to think. Remember, I'm old, so it's hard to access all those people. Lorena Ochoa, who's 5 months pregnant with her third child, she flew in from Mexico City and hit shots with each group. And I did the same thing. We're all running around in our cart. There were 33 groups of loaded foursomes over 27 holes, and we helped them all day long, and they were happy with us. So, and I was thrilled to be invited on Nancy's crew this year.
Oh, that's awesome! What a great event!
Yeah, it really was. Her teachers from Nancy Lopez Golf Adventures. Her teachers Sue Powers and
Teresa Zamboni.
Teresa, yeah. They were here and they were on a hole with each group. And Brian Pavlett, the long driver. Oh my God, he was amazing. He hit it so far. Jeez. So anyhow, there were just stars everywhere.
Awesome. Wow, fantastic. And that was at the Villages?
Yes, at the Nancy Lopez Legacy Golf Course. And the 3 9s are named after her 3 daughters, the Ashley 9, the Tori 9, and the, I'm freaking out here. I'll think of it in a minute. So
that's fine.
All those 3 9s were in play yesterday, and the golf course is beautiful. Do you know they have over 600 and some odd holes here in the Villages?
Wow.
They have some like 15 brand new executive courses where people in their 80s learn to play golf.
Wow, fantastic.
It's a golf-centric community that's just been amazing.
And it keeps continuing to grow. I was actually went down to the Villages not last year but the year before, and they were even more developing happening. It's growing and it's very vibrant. I mean, there's a lot of activity going on there all the time. It's just amazing, and some great restaurants around that area as well. But what a great thing that Nancy is doing to help some of these youngsters that are having some challenges in life, and it's great for people like Jack and Barbara Nicholas to step up and really show their support for a great lady like Nancy.
Absolutely.
And you're right. It's not easy to. I remember years ago at the Canadian Open, Jack Nicklaus was there at one of the Canadian Opens many years ago now, and once he gets into golf mode, it's very difficult to distract him and try and get an autograph. And believe me, I tried hard through all 18 holes, and it didn't work. But what a great ambassador for the game.
Oh, I hugged him and gave him a little kiss when we said goodbye the other night, and I said, "Take care of yourself. You're precious to all of us."
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, a long time he wasn't loved because he took Arnold's place, in the evolution of players coming up, and we didn't love him like we do now. It's really interesting how beloved he has become.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're right. And a lot of people too don't really. And Jack has been very vocal about this, really appreciate the role that Barbara has played in the Nicholas family. While Jack was off, traveling and playing in these different events, Barbara sort of ran things back home and did a great job in it and raising, all of those kids and being a big supporter of Jack.
But she not only supported him, but she helped him grow. And not live the narrow focus life of a tournament player. She forced him to come home for baseball games and football games and to be part of the children's lives as opposed to being an absentee father. Trevino always regretted that he just took the golf and didn't ignore his family, but he didn't enjoy his family. And Barbara's helped Jack learn how to really enjoy his family, all the steps along the way. So. Yeah,
and you're right, and I think that she helped him find balance. I think that's the key. To be a top player, especially in today's tour, it's a big demand on your time. A lot of these young men and young ladies are so busy traveling around the world to play in these different events that it's hard sometimes to have a social life, number one. But for those that are married and have children, you have to be part of it because you can't get those years back. You're exactly right, Carol. Well said.
And I was talking with Lorena yesterday, and Kelly Tillman, who is here from the Golf Channel. Kelly has a couple kids, and Lorena has two. And we were talking about how Lorena and Annika both stepped away, at of their skills. And had their families. Now, Lopez and Julie Inkster and Judy Rankin and Kathy Cornelius and gals like that did not do it that way. They had their children and still stayed actively on tour. So there are couple ways to do it. The Annika and Lorena way, and then the Lopez and Inkster way, too.
Well, and you're right. But I think, too, in all fairness, and I could be wrong, I think during the Lopez and Inkster and now Annika and Lorena's time, there was a much bigger. Even in Jack's time, there was a much big. Now the purses are so much bigger. These girls can win a few tournaments and pretty much be set. And the sponsorship dollars that are coming in, it makes it much easier for them to make that transition. Back in an earlier day, I think it was harder for them in order to. I mean, you literally were making a living in some cases. Playing on tour. Now, I mean, you can play a few events, and if you're a good enough golfer to win a couple of tournaments, you can literally be set if you want and be able to walk away. So I think there's a difference. I think, but you're right. There was different ways of doing things, and I applaud both Annika and Lorena for being able to step away the game at such a high level, and to have their families.
The good news is neither one is separated from the game. They still are involved in many different ways. Just not as
exactly.
Players.
Well, they're doing things to give more back too. I think they've both gotten so much from the game that they're much like Nancy did in her time, and Julie as well, they're doing things now at this stage while they're still, young enough to be able to do that, to give back to this game. And I wouldn't be surprised. You'll see them, be more involved in the tournament. I would love to see both of them, actually, Lorena and Annika, be even more involved with the LPGA, maybe on an executive level or something to that effect. I think they've got so much to give back to some of these young and up-and-comers in the LPGA.
Well, I think Lorena is on the LPGA Foundation board.
Right.
And Annika is on the World Golf Hall of Fame special 4-member board of Annika, Lopez, Palmer, and Nicklaus. So
right.
They the wonderful thing is opportunities to give back are rampant. You just have to turn around and there's something additional for you to do. But what I love is a mix of a combination of charities or worthwhile causes that are illness and then trying to recover and get well or find research dollars for more curative information. But the other is the events of inspiration that Annika has, the girls' tournaments for college-level girls, for junior girls from around the world. And those are events of inspiration that I just think, you can find a mix of those things to have.
Right. Now, Cindy had mentioned earlier on in the program, she was at the Coaching Summit in San Antonio, which I know you were there as well. And you were actually up on stage for a while with some of the other great legends like Kathy Whitworth and so on and so forth, and had some discussion and were able to answer some questions. So we've got a couple of questions for you that maybe you can and no. I promise there are no gotcha questions here. But I think this would be something for a lot of the amateurs that are tuning into the program here. Let's talk first off from the teaching side of things. I'll start off with this question. What do you think is the formula or mechanism, if you will, to give a good lesson? What do you think is important for as a teacher or coach in giving a good lesson to make sure that student's going to get the best of your abilities?
Well, I think you have to probe the student, especially if it's a new student. You have to probe a little to find out why they came to you. What did they hear or learn that helped them choose to come to you? And then they reveal different things, and then you kind of carry on from there, the initial probe. And you also find out what they want. And my concern always is what they want may not be what they need. And right. I have to somehow or other often try to couch what they want in my desire, which is to provide what they need for, better ball flight, better contact, and more joy in the action of hitting a golf ball, and then delving into where do they lose strokes, so it could be a short game, it could be putting. I mean, I find most people's putting games to be extraordinarily sloppy. Pardon the expression, but it's very sloppy and not well thought out, and they're just slapping it around and playing like it's ice hockey or something. So I try to focus on short game if they reveal that they know that their games are weak there,
Right, and you raised an interesting point about looking for a good instructor. So choosing the right instructor for you, because we're all different. We all have different ways of learning and that. So what should a student do when looking to choose a good instructor? It should be like much like an interview, correct?
Well, yes, but I think even before you get there, because you're going to have to pay for the time.
Right.
There's no free consultation
sure.
in golf lessons that I know of. I mean, maybe some people have something like that, but and so you usually hear from others of their success with someone, or you may read an article in one of the magazines or on a blog or somewhere about something that is appealing to you, and that you would like to learn more about, and that would be a way. So I think the student has to take a little initiative when they seek instruction with finding someone that may be appropriate. I would say you want to find somebody that has some experience at teaching, and not just some kid that the golf pro may have just hung out to dry.
Yeah.
Have to make a few bucks from his $11,000 a year of salary. So now he can make a few more tens of dollars to supplement his food intake. And so you want to have someone that's experienced at teaching.
Sure. Now, from the student's perspective, there are a couple things that I think also need to happen. But what should a student? The student's now found the instructor, and that are there things that a student can do to prepare for that lesson or for taking lessons? What should they do to get ready for that?
Well, this isn't brain surgery, so we don't need a whole history of like medical records or anything. But be prepared to communicate any injuries or any kind of physical limitation that you might have, whether it's surgical or simply just chronic condition. We don't want to know about mental illnesses, that's for sure, but we do like to know about physical ones. And you should be prepared to have the instructor look at your equipment. And if your equipment is falling apart, or if the grips haven't been changed in 5 years and you keep the clubs in the back of your car during the summer, you're going to need a grip change at some point. Yeah. And a good instructor will always check out your equipment, its condition and its optimization, basically. And some people are stuck with inherited golf clubs that came from perhaps 30, 40 years ago, and you might hear that you would advantage yourself if you got some new equipment. So there are so many possibilities for them to prepare for with a complete type teacher that hopefully you will have an experience of completeness, so you could develop a program basically to go through with that person over a period of time. It's not all. It isn't. We can't give you a lobotomy instantly, and you're not going to change overnight. You know what I mean? But you will
a process.
Have some. Yeah, it is definitely a process. But you'll have moments of discovery that hopefully become pleasurable enough to warrant your coming back to that teacher again. And I want more of what you gave me last time.
Well, and
let me ask you a question. I got to ask a question of.
Sure.
You said to develop a program, and how would you tell someone? Let's pretend I come in and I'm shooting 105 and I want to break 100.
Yeah.
Do you tell them, I would love to be able to perform a miracle here, but improvement takes time. And you need to be realistic about your goals, and it's probably going to take you at least 3, 4, 5 lessons to be able to accomplish your goal. I mean, do you say that to the student?
I can, if it seems appropriate. Now, when I say that, you can read personalities. If you see somebody that has a kind of impatient personality, then that's going to be a deterrent for return work. Tell them they got to come back 4 or 5 times. So am I. But I will say that I would likely, even though they're impatient, I would likely tell them the truth, because my integrity is at stake as well as standing for somebody who's knowledgeable about golf, and I have an obligation to deal in reality, but I can soften the reality, you know. And but if somebody is 105 and they want to get to break 100, I'd tell them immediately go work on their putting. You know, let's have a putting lesson, because most of them are taking 40 or more putts, you know. And they say, oh no, I'm really a good putter. I don't think so. You might think so, but let's go over here and do a little something with this. And some things, all you have to do. A guy walked up to me in a pro-am yesterday morning, and he said, I'm left-handed, and I keep slicing. Well, he stuck his grip and his arm placement way out in front of his leading foot. Okay, and I said, well, sir, you have a ball position problem. Now, he didn't even have a ball on a tee in front of me, but yet he had his arms way out ahead of his body and his leading foot. So, you know,
wonder why it's slicing.
Yeah, wonder why it's slicing. I said, sir, you're hitting it on the wrong side of the arc. You know, you're hitting it on the outwind side of the arc. And you're always going to get a slicer arc. You're going to pull your short iron. He went, oh, I do that. And I said, yeah. I said, just move your ball back. And he said, how did you know that? Well, hello. I'm an expert. I'm supposed to know that. If I don't know that, you know, I better not do this.
Well, and Carol, the other thing, too, I think that as students, I think the students out there need to also not be afraid, and I think this is a good idea, especially if you're coming for a lesson, to have some questions in mind, and not just, you know, how to fix my slice or how to, you know, correct the duck hook or something like that, but they need to have questions in mind, and they need to, the other thing, too, that, and I'm sure we've all experienced it as teacher professionals, students need to take the information that they receive from you, the instructor, and work on it outside of the lesson as well, and not just, you know, take a lesson today and then never touch the golf club, you know, again for a week or two and come back for another lesson and then wonder why there's no improvement. And we all know that happens. Go ahead.
I call that trying to learn by osmosis, you know, as opposed to actual work or practice and some kind of routine of learning whatever it was you learned that gave you some better ball flights or better putting, improvement. You're not going to learn this by breathing. You have to do it, okay? And I said that one time when I had a margarita to a restaurant waitress. She said, you can't learn golf by air. So, sorry, I don't drink margaritas anymore, so I don't say that anymore, but I had to just then to answer your question. So, sorry.
Well, and that raises really an interesting point. You know, we've all been, you know, around this game for a long time, and you know, this is something that we see time and time again. Cindy, I know you've seen it, and Carol, I know you've seen it for sure as well, and myself. Even, you know, I do a lot of work with corporate types, and it's the same thing. They've got busy schedules, and that's the excuse. Yeah. You know, the excuse mill, if you will, starts running every time they come out for a lesson. Well, you know, I had 6 meetings this week, and I had that, and I said, well, do you want to be a better golfer? And well, yes, of course. Well, then I said, then you've got to put some work into it. You can't just, you know, come for a lesson and expect miracles to happen. It's not gonna do that way. How do you think, you know, professionals get as good as they do? They get out and they practice what they've learned, and that's something that's hard. Let me shift gears just a little bit here, if I can, and I want to get on to 2 areas. Number one, how do we get more women interested in involved in playing golf, and then on the flip side, about the teaching side of it. How do we get more women involved and interested in the area of teaching involved in that aspect of golf as well? Let's start with playing. How do we get more women interested in playing golf, and then how do we get more women interested in teaching golf?
Well, I think you have to remember that women's motive for taking up golf are varied, okay? And so we have one end of the spectrum is, I'm learning golf so that I can spend time with my husband. He wants me to play golf. So that's an external motive. And although she may have adopted it as an internal motive, it's coming from an external source, and that
Right.
makes it a little more difficult to really turn them on. Okay, they'll just go, oh, it's just too hard. I can't learn this, and I'll tell my husband, just go play with your friends now.
Yeah.
So there'll be a lot of fallout in that category. It seems to me, because they don't have the right enough of a motive to do it. I think those women that want to be with their friends, and either use it perhaps in business and on their resume, and especially if they're in sales, the sales culture in America is very loaded with women and men who use golf as a way of developing their relationships. Okay, so motive is important, and another motive would be to have fun, and go to great resorts or go live your retirement life, like in the Villages or Del Webb's places or all the communities that are springing up all over America that combine golf and retirement. And that way it's another activity, and it's outdoors. The people seem to forget golf is beautiful. It's not like tennis where you see the same court all the time. The surface may be different, and the ivy climbing on the fences may be different, but the ball is the same. The size of the court's the same. Every golf course is different. Every golf course is beautiful, especially at dawning times and dusk. The contrast of colors of green and the sand and the shadows and the design features. It's amazing. So you can be out there with nature. So anybody that enjoys being around nature would be a good reason to go play golf. A lot of people don't think about it that way, So anyhow, those are kind of my group of reasons for turning people on to golf and having fun too.
And what about on the teaching side of it, Carol? What can we do to get more women interested in teaching?
Well, I think we have a natural flow of potential teachers with the college golf programs, high school and college golf programs that have a lot more females in them now. And those people are not all going to turn pro. They don't all want to live this nomadic life of being a professional golfer. And they want to do something with their lives. They get education degrees, and so it would be kind of natural. But the LPGA teaching club professionals and the LPGA itself needs to do a better job of showing that it's a lucrative and an exciting career path. That this is something that's important. It's a place of gratification and fulfillment and financial prosperity under the right marketing circumstances, especially like what you're doing, Cindy. You're getting rich with the show, aren't you? Yeah. Pardon me. Why were you laughing so hard?
We're not getting
you
rich
know what
with
I'm
the show.
talking about.
Yeah.
What?
I do.
Yeah, so we show there's a variety of entry points in the industry of golf. Teaching is one, working in companies is another, being an engineer is another. There are all kinds of ways to be involved with golf. We have the greatest need for good teachers, and I think that their teachers are getting more acceptance in the culture, in the previously all-male culture of golf shops and golf staffs. But there's still a long way to go there, frankly. That's still a pretty thick cultural, invisibility that exists, and it's hard for groups. It's hard on the men and it's hard on the women.
Yeah, it is, and I'm grateful to see a lot of great women professionals coming up through the ranks, and those that have been around the game for a long time as a player and transitioning now into the teaching side of things as a way of continuing on with that income stream, but also giving back to the game. Carol, unfortunately, we're out of time, and just when we were having some good conversation here, we enjoyed having you on, And I hope that you will
Thank
come
you.
back, and you're welcome to come back and visit us anytime. We appreciate all of your thoughts and comments, and keep doing all the great things that you're doing.
Well, I have a wonderful time with golf. It's never-ending learning and seeking for me. So I'm in love with golf.
Thank you so much for joining us. You are a treasure.
Okay, well, thank you. All the best to you all and your audience.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Carol, and you have a great rest of the week.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, that was our very special guest, Carol Mann. Been around, as she said, around the game for a long time, and still out there giving back and still out enjoying this great game. As I mentioned, we're out of time, so we want to take this opportunity, Cindy and I, both to thank all of the listeners from around the world and our special guest today, Carol Mann. Thank you for tuning into the broadcast. We look forward to bringing some other great guests in the future, and stay tuned. We are going to come back here in the weeks coming up with some more great guests, but also we're going to bring back Own Your Game platform that Cindy and I did earlier on, with maybe a few twists in there to help get you mentally prepared for next year as we wind down in some of the areas, not all the areas here around the U.S. and abroad for the winter months. We're going to help tune up your game and get you ready for next year. So again, on behalf of Cindy Miller and I, thank you very much for joining us here on the Women of Golf, and we will see you next week, next Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. Thank you very much. And Cindy, as always, thank you for joining me here Tuesday mornings.
Have a great week.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.